Hey there, y'all. This is Anne Marie, founder of the AntiHR HR Consultancy, and also known as the AntiHR HR Lady. And today I want to talk to you guys about the 5 types of employers that I have found to be the most likely to engage in creating discriminatory, hostile work environments for employees, especially Black women. But first, who am I? I'm Anne Marie, also known as the Anti-HR HR Lady and the founder of the Anti-HR Consultancy. And what I do is I teach employees how to recognize discrimination in their workplace, how to get their employers to pay them to leave discriminatory hostile work environments, and how to understand their workplace rights and assert those rights. So if that's of interest to you, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube, and make sure you follow me across social media as the Anti-HR HR Lady. I want to preface this by saying that I'm not intending to apply that these employers are particularly problematic and all other employers are okay. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying in this video are these are the 5 types of employers that I have found in my work with employees to be the most problematic and egregious in terms of how they deal with employees generally and specifically with Black women. But it does have to be acknowledged that the United States of America is an inherently racist society. And that's not a question, that's just a statement of fact. And so the fact of the matter is that if you are Black, and especially if you are a Black woman, it's not a matter of if you're going to deal with discrimination in your workplace. It's a matter of when and how many times. So I'm presenting this information so that employees have it and understand, especially Black women, that if you work in these types of environments, you have to arm yourself with information you need to have to identify and understand discrimination, to know it when you see it, to know how to document it, to know how to raise those concerns effectively. And if you wish to exit, make sure that they pay you to go if they are violating your rights. Discrimination is still illegal in the United States. Not sure that it always will be, but right now it still is. So it's important for you to know your rights and assert your rights. So here, in my opinion, and based on my work as a HR consultant who works specifically with employees and primarily with Black women who are experiencing discrimination in their workplaces, here are the 5 top employers that engage in this kind of behavior on a regular basis based on the clients that I've worked with in the last year. And I'm just going to say year, even though it's been 2.5 years since I've been running my consultancy, but I'm going to base it on just the last 12 months. I'm going to start at number 5, and number 5 is the federal and state and local governments. And I just did a video about federal, state, and local governments and talked about the fact that they are an employer that engages in a lot of discrimination in the workplace and makes it very difficult for employees to raise those claims, even when they have solid evidence that it is taking place. But the federal government, local governments, and state governments are some employers that are particularly problematic for employees when they want to raise discrimination claims, especially when those employees are Black women. Number 4 are medical institutions and systems. And when I say medical institutions and systems, I'm talking about hospitals. I'm talking about clinics. I'm talking about health insurance company. So companies that deal generally with health and hire medical professionals like doctors and nurses and claims adjusters, but primarily people who are educated and trained in the medical field. Those types of employers, I have many clients who have come to me who are nurses. I have doctors who have come to me, people working in medical systems, medical environments, and have raised issues about significant discrimination and hostile, toxic behavior in their work environments. So number 4 is medical systems, and that's intended to include hospitals, health insurance companies, clinics, etc. Number 3 is the education sector. And when I say the education sector, I'm talking about universities, I'm talking about private and public schools, whether we're talking about middle schools, elementary schools, etc. Teacher environments where their teachers are employed, professors, and so on, people who teach and educate, as well as people who work in the administrative side of the education system. Those environments are very, very harmful in many ways to many, many employees, especially Black women. There's a lot of hostile, toxic behavior as well as discrimination, but significant instances of bullying and gaslighting and microaggressions that take place in education settings and education systems. So at number 3 would be education systems and settings. Number 2 would be the tech sector, whether we're talking about cybersecurity, UX, whatever it is. I have got a lot of clients who have come to me who work in tech. They are mostly all women, and majority of them are Black women. Black women are catching hell in the tech sector. There's so much discrimination and racism in that sector. And a lot of it is coming not just from white people, but from their proxies who are primarily people of Asian American descent, whether they're Southwest, or what do we call it, Southeastern Asian, people who are from India, or people who are of Chinese, Korean descent. They are inflicting a lot of harm to Black women in these environments. And so I have had a lot of clients come to me seeking support and help and advice who work in the tech sector. I've had other clients in that sector as well, but I've had a lot of women come to me for advice who work in that sector. That sector is very, very difficult environment for Black women to work in and for women generally to work in. So number 2 would be the tech sector. And coming in hot at number 1 is the nonprofit sector. And I'm a person who actually came out of the nonprofit sector and have dealt with discrimination, hostile work environment, toxicity. So I'm speaking from personal experience as well as the experience of many, many clients who have come to me since I opened my practice seeking advice about escaping a discriminatory hostile workplace. Nonprofit sector is rife with discrimination, especially when you are a Black woman. And what I have found is, and in my opinion, one of the biggest factors is that it is a sector that has a significant number of white women working in it. And there's a lot of microaggressions, a lot of gaslighting, and a lot of racial discrimination, specifically anti-Black racial discrimination in the nonprofit sector. And people are often surprised because they think that people go into the nonprofit sector to help others. But that's not necessarily always what the mindset of those people are. And as we know, sometimes the people who are the most progressive can be the most harmful when it comes to racism. And the nonprofit sector is filled with people who believe themselves to be liberal and progressive. And I think part of the reason why it is so harmful to Black women mentally, psychologically, is that they come into these organizations because they want to do the work of that mission and they want to help people, and they think that the people they're working with want to do the same. And they're hired because, Black women are probably the demographic that has the most college degrees, but master's degrees, and are, highly competent group and demographic of people. And you come into these environments and first you're the pet and then you become the threat. And it becomes a very difficult work environment for Black women, especially overqualified Black women, to work in very quickly. So at number 1, in terms of being the worst and most egregious types of employers and sectors for a lot of my clients is the nonprofit sector. And there you have it, guys. That's my list of the top 5 worst employers in terms of dealing with issues of discrimination and hostile toxic work environments in the United States. And this is based on my client base and the people who have come to me, I would say over the last 12 months. This is what I have found to be the case. Now, you can tell me in the comments if that's your experience or whether you have a different experience. And I don't expect this to be everyone's experience. I definitely expect that other people are going to have different experiences, and lots of people work in other sectors, because as I said, this is not intended to say that all the other sectors are great, because they are not for Black people especially. But this is what I've learned and found based on my client base and the people that I have worked with, that these 5 types of employers in the United States are particularly problematic. And again, I'm going to say number 1 is nonprofits. Number 2 is the tech sector. Number 3 is education and education systems and settings, medical systems and settings. And number 5 is the federal, state, and local governments. I would love to hear your comments, so let me know your thoughts in the comments. I hope that you have found this information helpful. I will add that, as I always tell you, To combat discrimination at work, the most important thing for you to be able to do is, first of all, recognize the discrimination, effectively document the discrimination, and you can use my documentation journal, which is for sale on my website and linked here on my TikTok as well. But effective documentation is the key thing that most of you are not doing well. And number 3 is then to take that documentation and to effectively communicate it to human resources, and then turn that into a request to exit that work environment with a cash in hand or a check in hand from your employer. And I teach people how to do these 4 things that I've just mentioned effectively, and to create a strategy and do these things in my online training that I have provided for my clients. I have, perfected doing this with one-to-one clients. I turned it into a course because I can't possibly teach every single person that comes to me. So I turned it into an online course so that more people will have access to that information. And you can download the course, How to Ask for an Exit from a Discriminatory Hostile Work Environment with Cash, and actually get it from my website, and start working and planning and executing your strategy tomorrow. Again, this is Anne-Marie, the anti-HR HR lady. HR is not your enemy, but they're definitely not your friend, but I am. I'll see you in the next video.